Good afternoon all and welcome to St. Cloud Rotary, the best place to be on any Tuesday afternoon. We're going to start off with Michael Amberg coming up here. Michael,
back and then send it to you.
You're going to be our guest host today for Which Rotarian Is This Anyway? Marty, do you have the extra ticket to hand out? You probably don't.
That's all right, don't worry. Not the drawing room. Yeah, one more ticket. Get one more ticket out.
Okay.
And give it to whomever guesses first.
First?
The first one. Which Rotarian? And you don't get to play.
And I don't get to do that fictional character that I was going to do? Okay, this Rotarian was born in Denver. Any guesses yet?
Not me.
What's that?
John Dustin.
No. Their first car was a Gremlin.
Oh my God.
They went to Sauk Center High School.
Local, on Main Street.
Okay, he's not here, so I can say this one. Their worst job was working on the line at a poultry manufacturer. Genio. It was Genio. I was going to say that either way. Oh, by the way, and their favorite meal is a good old-fashioned turkey dinner. What's that?
Captain Mahela.
No. Person has 4 cats. Cats. Yeah. What's that?
This is going to take forever.
You got 2 pages. Favorite vacation spot is Riviera Maya in Mexico. Okay, that's the last one he gave me, so then I thought, there I gave you half of it. I do one favor for him. I'm actually wearing something that he sells today.
Oh, happy.
Yep.
Who's
Who's
got
Todd?
it,
That's who's Todd.
Todd?
There he is.
Stand up for a second.
Very good, okay. All right, a gremlin, I had one of those too, boy. Look how far it got me. Hey, you're welcome. Okay, everybody, stand up and shake hands around and say hello to people you don't know, especially. Okay, folks, the 4-way test. On the wall, for those of you who don't know it by heart yet, you should be able to do this with your eyes closed. Of the things we think, say, and do, is it true?
Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
And Len, we're going to sing.
We're going to make up for last week. We're going to sing Take Me Out to the Ball Game.
Take me out to the ball game. Take me out to the crowd. Buy me some peanuts and Cracker Jacks. I don't care if I ever get back, so it's root, root, root for the home team. If they don't win, it's a shame. For it's 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out at the old ball game.
We're in good voice today.
They sound good.
Yes, sir. Number 3, American the Beautiful.
Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountains, majesties above the fruit and plain. America, God shed His grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood, from sea to shining sea.
you led, and Diane Cross is going to step in for Mark Christensen, who says his voice isn't going to work. He agrees.
Diane.
Let's bow our heads. Heavenly Father, we give you thanks and praise for this day and for the blessings that you give to everyone in this club. Thank you that we are able to take these blessings and share them with our community and with those abroad, especially in the Dominican Republic. May we always be thankful for the bountiful food that we have in this country and our freedoms. Please bless this food. We ask this in the name of your Son, Jesus. Amen.
All right, please be seated. Thank you, Diane. Okay, we're going to look around for guests. I saw a couple of faces I didn't quite recognize. Over in the table back over here. Hey?
Yeah.
Jeff, welcome. Nice to see you. Anybody else? I didn't see any other faces I didn't quite recognize. A couple of you look a little rougher than I thought, but no. Y'all look good. Y'all look good. Okay, how about some junior Rotarians? Leanne has one, but let's go to Chris. Do we have anybody here for Apollo?
You know, here I am, but I have not met a person.
Okay, I don't have it, so I'm just checking. Okay. Then what I think is that we only have Leanne to introduce here, and then you're going to speak today, I believe.
I'd like to introduce our representative from Tech. This is David Chanel, and he's going to speak. You want to
Yep, come on up, David. Nice coat, Todd. Did you have anything to do with that coat? I don't know.
Go ahead, speak. Welcome.
I'm David Schindel. I'm from Tech. I come from a family of four. My father, Rodney Schindel, is a special education teacher over at Tech High School, so I run into him quite a bit. Well, nice, but has his rough edges. My mom's secretary over at St. Cloud State. She's in the science and engineering department. And she works for David. I can't remember his last name, but he's a very good man. And my sister Ashley, she goes to St. Catherine's down in the cities. It's a private institution, and it's a very good school. She loves it a lot. She met a lot of new people. And she's on vacation right now, and she's in South Dakota looking at the Rushmore. She has lots of pictures, and I'm sort of jealous. And I'd like to be there too. I play lacrosse. I'm a goalie. This would be my third year. I hope to be playing varsity, and we've been facing a lot of great teams, and I think we should be very good. I also give blood. I've recently donated my first gallon, which I'm very proud of. I even got a pin, so I was very happy. I do a lot of services. I do Catholic charities. I did lunch for the hungry, like once a week. Or once a month, I donate an hour to serve lunch to the people that are less fortunate. And they actually have a lot of great stories. They're just unfortunate that they're in this predicament because of rough times. And I sort of feel bad, and I like listening to them and the knowledge that they have to offer. I'm also in Link Crew. That is a very good organization that Tech has been very proud of. My freshmen are like family to me. I mean, they're so amazing. They just cherish whenever we come in here. They always scream my name whenever I walk through the door, and it's always that refreshing feeling that I know someone actually cares about me that I've just met this year, and I made such an impact, and it really warms my heart. A couple big problems that I faced is, well, the biggest problem I face is the unknown. I'm very scared to go out on a limb, but if someone's there with me, I'm willing to take that chance. Like coming here, I know someone's going to greet me, and she was very warm and comforting, and everyone I've met here has been the same way. It's been a true honor of being a junior Rotarian here, and still going to be junior Rotarian for the rest of this remaining month. I just love what you guys do in the community and what you guys do internationally. I feel like it's a big part, and I feel ashamed that not many people actually know of you guys and what you guys do. The biggest person that's influential to me is probably going to be my best friend, Mike. Mike Mullen is a student at University of North Dakota. He is majoring in physics, which you can basically do so many jobs with that. What I like about him so much is we can have a good time no matter what. I mean, if he's having problems, he talks to me. If I'm having problems, he talks to him. I say a best friend isn't there someone that's just there for you. It's someone that makes you feel special. Because whenever I feel down, he's there for me. And I feel grateful. And whenever he's there, he talks to me and I feel like I'm important and I have some significance to what he does and where he's going next. And he's just an amazing guy. And he was a senior last year at Tech. And that's why I'm going to be rooming with him next year at the University of North Dakota. Go Sioux. They just fought their name, and I'm very happy. I want to be a Sioux. I'm going to be studying engineering. I'm either going civil or electrical. They both have very good departments up at the University of North Dakota, and I'm looking forward to it and all the offers they have to give me. Thank you.
Thank you. As I tell some number of the other kids, David from St. Cloud Tech, I was a junior Rotarian with this club in 1971, and some of the guys are still here who were in there then. And so watch out, this is what you look like after 40-some years out. Yeah, I know. I'm afraid to do that to the desk and folks just like that, huh? Okay, Marty the Hole, let's draw for the loot. Take out your little ticket. Take out your little ticket. You have a little ticket.
Before you decided what you were going to do yet?
I'm gonna let Glenn Mitchell do that.
Glenn's gonna draw here.
Okay, the last three digits are 330.
330, who's got it? Oh, Renee has it over there. Give her the loot. Okay, very good.
Okay. There's a string attached though. We have $20 or 10. And it's $15 reward, so if you have a 5, you get.
I do have a 5.
I got a 5.
There's one who's prepared. She's got it ready to go. All right. Everybody else goes, darn it, and tears theirs and throw it away. All right. While he's finishing that now, I'm going to take the time to introduce our very special guest, District Governor Chuck Berg, who has asked for a few minutes to speak on two topics. And one is a thank you to you, and another is a request. So let's give a stand up, please, and welcome to our District Governor.
You know, it was great when I was back here in October, and you were the last club visit I had, and I had such a great time doing those club visits. I decided, what the heck? Nobody said I can't do two. Now, when I went to Edina, they told me that they are the #1 club in the universe. And I don't know about that, and they have a lot to talk about. But this club has a project at Lake George that is unmatched in this district. There are 4 clubs in this district that everybody in the club gave money to our Rotary Foundation. This club is one of those. There is no other club that has sent 10 people abroad to work on a project, and this club is doing that. So it's great to be back here, and I'm here for 2 reasons, as Jim said. One is to acknowledge you formally, so I'd like to have Troy Fritz come up, and I have a banner to present to him from Rotary International, expressing the gratitude that the foundation has for this club reaching every Rotarian every year last year. Troy? And I understand you've already reached that level this year as well. And that's important. We have to continue to keep funding our foundation, keep doing the projects that we're doing. I will remind you, Jim is a fundraising guy, and he's not ashamed of taking a second check from anybody either. The second thing I'd like to talk to you about is a celebration. It's time to celebrate all of the good work that you've done in this club and that we've done throughout the district. And we're going to be gathering here April 13th and 14th at the Bloomington Airport Hilton. And our theme this year is to ride the wave. This district is just continuing to go to higher and higher planes of existence, and we're just going to continue riding that wave. We're going to have a really nice Caribbean-themed dinner on Friday night so that we can send you off, because I realize this club is going back to Dominican the following Saturday morning. So I hope to see you there to come and celebrate all the great accomplishments we've had. And these are on the table. Okay? Thank you very much.
Very nice. Okay, Pat Edinburgh has a announcement?
Very quick reminder to check your table that we are looking to add some additional items on the ambulance next week. And the theme next week on Tuesday of Rotary is going to be the ambulance. We're putting together the final list of medical supplies, computers, etc. A couple of the kids are working on drives at schools on shoes. But if there's something lightly used or new that you could send along, we're going to try to make the best use of that available space. And we're going to try to make the best use of us 11 going down to the Dominican as mules, if you will, to carry a second bag at the airport for what we can't fit on the ambulance. So the final drop is next Monday at 5 o'clock, Community Foundation, or here at the rest. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Pat. Gary MacArthur.
I have kind of two things I'd like to comment on. My very good friend Galen Cabe, who is a member of the Granite Rotary Club and who has been selling Rotary roses to us for years and years and years. Today is completing the first phase of testing, and if all has gone well, then they'll destroy his bone marrow and do stem cell transplant tomorrow. So I'm very hopeful and excited that it's going to go well. It's not quite as experimental as it was, but at any rate, I've always helped Galen. Galen sells more roses in that club than anybody else by multiples of 5 or 10, and I've always sold roses for him. So this is Rotary Rose Week for the Granite Club. Anybody who didn't get a ticket, the pickup is Thursday, Friday, and Saturday this week. They're $15. If you'd like one, I'll be here afterwards, and you can buy some roses. They're $15. They're fantastic, and it helps the Granite Club in their mission. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Jerry. Yeah, it's nice that you're helping Galen's been a great Rotarian for many years. Okay, any other announcements? Somebody had an announcement?
Could I just add to what Pat said about the contribution? Sandy Neitzel was generous enough. She wrote a check out to help us buy stuff for the ambulance. So if you also would like to, instead of bring stuff in, let us know. And John, we're going to work with you at the Rotary Foundation for that. So cash gifts too would be welcome. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And that's next week now. You bring it next week, or else you ship it yourself or carry it down yourself if you want. And we'll make the final decision as to what we put in. They are meeting, my wife and Jurgen, and well, Ed and Jurgen are talking about. Ed and Jurgen are going to meet tomorrow night and make the final decision on what to buy for the ambulance. Yeah, so they're going to get that ready to go, and the ambulance gets shipped out next week. Okay, any other announcements? I thought there was one more that someone wanted to make, and Sandy, do you want to do that? You going to do it? You want to do it with Happy Bucks? Well, let's start Happy Bucks then. Let's have Sandy come up first because she's got a special announcement she wants to make. So let's get her up there. And the rest of you have some Happy Bucks. Let's get them up here. I don't want to stand here and not have your money.
All right, the first Happy Buck is for Happy Spring, although we didn't have much of a winter. And the second Happy Buck is to announce that the Women's Fund to the Community Foundation is now taking nominations for the Athenas. So I do have forms here, nomination forms, so anyone that would like to nominate a person for the Athena, please see me after the meeting.
Okay, state his name, Jerry, come on.
I have 5 happy bucks. There's nothing I'm more proud of than being a Rotarian. And many of you know that I stopped working last year and that I have not enjoyed my retirement at all. I made the decision and I am announcing today because this is my favorite place to be, not only on Tuesday, but as often as I can. I am going to be running for the Minnesota State Senate as a DFLer. And so for some of you that may be a little different than your persuasion, but as a DFLer, but at any rate, I'm very, very excited, and I know that I will have your support in spirit, if not otherwise. So thank you very much.
To that unexpected news, I'll have some happy bucks. I was wondering if I should give some because I only have $20, and I decided I'll give it anyway because I had a great time for 2 weeks. I was in Honduras learning about prolotherapy and helping patients there, and it was a great experience to learn a different side of the medical field that I've learned in my regular practice. I learned a lot of skills that one can really use even here, which is a low cost, very efficient way how to treat patients with musculoskeletal problems. And I really got a big appreciation how well we have it here compared to where we stayed. We were instructed that we cannot go outside at night. And in front of most banks or stores and so on, there was always an armed guard, and it was a little bit disconcerting. So happy bucks for being back safe.
Much happier note. I just want to give one happy buck for Girl Scout Week. Last week we had just an incredible, successful week celebrating our 100th anniversary, and don't be surprised to hear about Girl Scouts for the whole year. 2012 is the year of the girl. And my second happy buck is for Rotary High School boys basketball team. They made it down to state and they play on Wednesday. They got the #1 draw, so we're going to hope that they do well.
And they do have a tough defense.
I got 10 happy bucks. I'm very, very happy. First, a couple bucks for being sorry I wasn't here last week. I was with all the chiefs of police. And next week I will be in Washington, D.C., hopefully acquiring some money for my domestic violence court. Remember I told you I was going to spring training? Okay, so Alex now is 17. He's 6'1", and he says, "Mom, it's not going to be as fun as we were when we were little kids." He got to be a bat boy for the Twins on Friday afternoon. He was down in the dugout with them and in the clubhouse with them for 2 hours before the game and during the entire game. And here are the updates that he wanted me to give you. Justin Morneau is skinny, sad, and probably done playing baseball. He can't hit the broad side of the barn right now, and he's very thin. That whole being in shape, he's just plain scrawny, poor thing, and he's really sad about it. Joe Mauer, he scoops, he throws, you could put him at shortstop, and he would still be the best athlete on the field. He had a good chat with Trevor Plouffe, with Ben Revere. This Willingham gentleman is going to help us a lot, so is Mr. Burrows and Mr. Carroll. But what he wants you to know is the next big thing coming out of the Minnesota Twins is Joe Benson. This kid is on fire. We watched him take a 420-foot home run away from David Ortiz at the brand new Red Sox stadium down in Fort Myers. So in all the times that we've been to Fort Myers and a spring training, this was absolutely a capstone experience. We're so excited, and varsity baseball started this morning. Perfect timing.
The first set of happy bucks are from Kermit Eastman. So he's giving $2 for the University of North Dakota beating St. Cloud State. And he told me to tell you he's chuckling. He's got $2 for the University of North Dakota beating the University of Minnesota. And he's got $2 for them beating Denver for the WCHA title. There it is. This is 5 for me, and this is a story about our two youngest, not youngest, our two 5-year-old grandkids. Josh's daughter Ava is 5, and my other son Jerry's little boy John is 5. They're only 11 days apart. They came out to snowmobile at our house, and we got 2 of those 120cc snowmobiles, you know, those like they're about 4 feet long. And I had them all gassed up, and I left. Josh and I took off. We were actually snowmobiling with Gail and Kate and John Halls up at Park Rapids. We came back a day later, There was not a blade of snow standing in our whole yard. Marge shoveled snow so they could go across the roads. And finally she got to stop for lunch at about 1:30. They would not come in the house. She had to feed them liquids through a straw going into the helmet. Finally they ate warm hot dogs. And Ava's done eating and she turns to John and says, "Now isn't this the best day ever of your life?"
Captivated by that story, I almost forgot to come up. Again, this is for all of you. You guys, stepped up last year. You did a fantastic job. Again, this year, so I've got a happy buck for that. And then a kind of a challenge buck. I think I'd like to say is let's get one of these banners. Let's put this on there, and then let's just keep repeating it year after year. And I think that would be an impressive banner for all of us to have. So I'll give this back to Jim so he can figure out how you sew one of these on one of those banner things.
Well, yeah, very careful.
Jerry, I didn't know snow had blades to it. I have 5 happy bucks. I'm just a little bit sad it isn't more. The Cathedral boys basketball team won their playoff game last Tuesday, but came up a little bit short Friday on in their bid to go to the state tournament against a very good Waterford Mayor, Watertown Mayor team. But all in all, it's a very good year.
I'm a little shorter, sorry about that. So I've got 2 happy bucks. I wish like you're gonna have $20, but so my first one is because for those of you who haven't heard, there is the first annual fundraiser for legal services this Thursday. Justice Page is coming to speak. It's gonna be quite awesome. If you haven't already signed up, you might want to. And my second 2 cents worth, I'm really excited Jerry's running.
Here's my happy buck. I was just informed that I've been the recipient of this year's 2012 Advisor of the Year. Thank you.
This will congratulate Jerry. While also, I've been a little concerned. Sid Hartman is well over 90, and Janelle, you're going to take his place. So we'll be listening for you on Saturday morning.
I want to give an update. 5 happy bucks. My youngest son, 2 weeks ago, I was gone because I was judging for the DECA. 26 years that, I don't know if anybody knows John Rasmussen, he's done the DECA program in Sauk Rapids. He's never had a kid make second day. My son made second day in one of the categories. Not only that, but he took first and he won the internationals on that and with both categories that he's in. And so I'm proud of him. Thank you.
What a bunch of fun news. Well, let me now take time to introduce our guest speaker today, Mr. John Cromie, Johnny, by happenstance, out of Washington, D.C., and he has spent the last part of his years as a international non-governmental organization vice president in very small villages, in countries, in war-torn countries, in countries where the war is past and the villages are, the towns and the infrastructure is gone. And his work with his groups is to help start rebuilding the whole communities and starting from scratch to bring them up to date. I think you'll find it very fascinating. He's speaking to everyone. So John, let's welcome John Cromie in to say and talk for a while. Hey, John, come on up front. Thank you.
I thought you were going to leave those.
Being the fundraiser that I am.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here. Before I get too far in, I want to express my empathy with Jerry. My first car was a Ford Falcon, so I know how a Gremlin driver feels. And also, my worst job was also in the poultry industry, but it was not on the production line, on the processing line. It was an earlier stage in the production process. My father raised about 600 chickens at a time, and I grew up in charge of, what would you call it, waste disposal management, which was a pretty miserable job shoveling that stuff out of the chicken house and hauling it out into the field. So I was on the other end of the same process. I'm John Cromie. I'm from New Prague, Minnesota. My first point today is I want to thank all of you Rotarians for all that you do all around the world. I am not a member of Rotary myself because I seem to be moving all the time, but my first experience with Rotary was with the New Prague Rotary Club when I was a senior in high school. They selected me as one of two boys from the high school who, under a program they called Future Leaders, and they sent the two of us to St. Paul to spend a weekend or 3 or 4 days with the Rotary Club members there, and to tour the steel mills, the St. Paul National Bank, and a series of other industries and businesses there to get a feel for what the rest of the world was like. And so the Rotary Club in New Prague was my starting point, and they gave me a big boost to becoming a future leader in this country. I then went to St. John's, and I left there and went to join the Peace Corps and went to India, South India. I was there, and I wasn't there very long, and I found out that Rotary is really big in India. Hundreds and hundreds of clubs, and they do a lot of really good work. And about my 4th or 5th month there, I was invited to a town called Hospit in South India to speak to the Rotary Club and to tell them what it was I was doing in South India and why I was walking around all these villages talking to people about irrigating vegetables and so on. I gave my little spiel and then I opened it up for questions. And in the back of the room, a very, very old gentleman stood up and said, "I have a question." He said, is agriculture at the University of Minnesota still being taught there? And I said, "What?" I said, "Sure, of course, we have a big ag extension program and so on." He said, "Good." And this was in 1963. He said, "I'm a graduate of the University of Minnesota. I got my PhD at the University of Minnesota in 1917 in soil agronomy." And I was just stunned, that more than 50 years ago then, he had been for 3 years a graduate student at the University of Minnesota, not far from my home. And there I was in the middle of India, and I had a fellow Minnesotan to talk to. So Rotary introduced me there to that, and then from that point on, in all my international work, I was telling Dave, I run into Rotary clubs on a regular basis all across Africa and South Asia, and they're always in the communities. My particular work is aimed at community-based development, building from the bottom up. And I always find the Rotary clubs, local Rotary clubs, and with funds from Rotary International, are there side-by-side partners with us, and they do great, great work. And so I want to thank you for supporting them and for being part of that movement. And I want to express my admiration for all that Rotary does and has been doing for such a very, very long time. By joining the Peace Corps after St. John's, I was, in effect, given an open door to a very, very much blessed life. I got to travel and work in countries around the world. I got to meet prominent people around the world. I got to work side by side with terrific people on the community level in about 20 different countries in the world. I got to see most of the world's great natural wonders. I swam, canoed, boated on all the great rivers of the world. I've walked the deserts and the cities of the world, the things that a farm boy from New Prague, Minnesota never ever hoped or dreamed he would be able to do. In my work all around the world, I've learned some great lessons. And I promised Jim I would share with you just 3 or 4 things that normally one doesn't learn growing up on a farm in Minnesota. The first thing I learned in all of this work overseas is that 90% of the people around the world, no matter what country, no matter what ethnic group, no matter what color their skin, no matter what religion they believe in, 90% or more of the people of the world basically are good human beings. They live by the same code that we do. They want to raise their children well. They want to feed their families. They want to be safe, secure. They want to offer their children opportunities to go forward. They want to be good with their neighbors, and they want to take care of their families. And I say that because when we hear the news and we read the newspapers and so on, it sounds like the whole world is in turmoil and there's these angry voices and politics and everything. And it's really, really important that even in Afghanistan, in Iraq, in Palestine, in Darfur, in South Sudan, in the Congo, where all these conflicts take place, most of the people are just good human beings, and it's a small part that are causing all of these troubles. And so always keep that in mind when you begin to despair if you watch the news too much as I do. It's really, really important to remember underneath all of that are, the normal average citizens with the kids going to school, people running their shops and carrying on their life. All the great convulsions that are going on in the world and have gone on in the world. This is my second lesson I learned. It's really about men who are trying to gain control of land, resources, and dominance over people. It's always about resources, land, and power over people. That's what Osama bin Laden was fighting about. That's what the Israeli-Palestinian struggle is about. That's what's going on in South Sudan and Sudan now. All of these convulsions are because some people, and I'm sorry to say, almost always men, are trying to gain power and resources for their own control. That's what it's all about. And that's one of the great lessons I learned. I didn't realize that as much before. We are living in a world, as you know, where there's great friction between the Islamic world and the Christian West. And we're at a time when it's getting harder and harder to be patient with each other and to reach out to each other and to believe that there's still a chance that we can avoid a great conflict between the Christian world and the Islamic world. There's a lot of young guys in the Islamic world who believe very strongly that not only is Islam a great religion, but that it should have control over land, resources, and people all over not only the Middle East and North Africa, but larger areas as well. And those young men don't speak for 90% of the people, but they certainly are determined to take on this fight. And I share that with you because one of the forces that operates to help mitigate that is Rotary International. All the good work that your organization does and all the partnerships of the meeting is a force of sanity when all these young men are advocating this great conflict. The other thing you should know about that as you watch it from a distance is that within Islam there is a great struggle also, and it's really the battle is within Islam. A small part of the young Islamic leaders focus on the West and on the Christian world as a way to divert attention from the big battle they're having amongst themselves. Whether all of their lives should be controlled by their religion whether they should have secular governments, whether they should be led by people educated in the West, or whether they should go back to tribal and leadership and so on. That's a big battle amongst themselves. And we're getting some of the spillover effect because they're trying to redirect it to us. The result is the Minnesota National Guard has to send lots and lots of people to places like Iraq and Afghanistan to drive those trucks and do those logistics. And some of those people get hurt and injured because of that. It's our own sons and daughters and cousins and brothers and so on. 3 Christmases ago, my hometown New Prague newspaper, they're advertising that there was a group there putting together packages, Christmas packages, for the soldiers in Iraq and Afghanistan. And I was shocked to find out that 16 soldiers from my hometown were in those 2 countries. I didn't realize that, how much that Osama bin Laden-led struggle had come all the way to New Prague, to my hometown. 16 of them, and now we have 3 soldiers in my hometown who are permanently disabled for their work in Iraq. So what these guys do comes home to all of us. And of course, you know, after the attacks in New York and Washington, we went into a major military campaign to combat these terrorist groups, which have cost our country very, very dearly in blood and treasure, and it cost all of you in taxes, and all of our Minnesota National Guard people and others all across the land have had to go and serve and be away from their family. These are things that remind us that even though in our daily life we may not care what happens in Yemen, or what happens in Kandahar, or what happens in Baghdad, but sometimes these things come back and bite us in ways we wish they didn't happen. I worry a great deal now about what's happening with Iran. And I pray and hope that we never have to go and do battle there. And I hope, and I know the Rotary plays an extensive role in that country. And I hope the kind of friendship and understanding with the people of Iran that Rotary and others foster will overcome the political difficulties and hatred and anger that exists amongst a very small percent. It's a tough, difficult world out there. Creating these new democracies in Libya and Tunisia and Egypt were wonderful things, but it's messy. As we know in our own politics right now, it's a little messy. In the United States also, democracy is, sputtering on a couple of cylinders. But it's a tough world out there, but we have to remember 90% or more of those people are just really good people who just want to live their lives, raise their kids, have their kids have a good future, honor whatever God they believe in, and be left alone to enjoy their grandchildren and their great-grandchildren and so on. It's just, I have sat on the floor of the houses of Muslim people, Hindu people, Buddhist people, Orthodox Christians, Maronite Christians. I've shared food and meals with them, with pagans in Africa, and they're all good people. They're all good people. There are some bad ones. That's why we have state prisons and so on. They're a very small percentage. Most people just want to have a decent life and their kids' future and so on. So I share that with you to remember amidst all of the trumpets and blaring and yelling and screaming of political battles and daily news, that in fact there are all these human beings that are just trying to have a decent life for their children. My sort of one quote that has kind of carried me through all this madness at times is a quote from the book of Micah. And it says, "This is what Yahweh asks of you, and only this. Live justly, love tenderly, and walk humbly with your God. And that would actually fit on a Twitter, 140 characters. And it's just so profound. It gives me sanity amongst all that else goes on. Live justly, a tall order, love tenderly, not easy, and walk humbly with your God. A huge assignment. So I share that with you. I've had a great life, starting with my Ford Falcon and shoveling that chicken stuff, to this day having lunch with you here at the Rotary Club, and thanking you for all that you've done for me, all that you've done for people around the world, and all that you've done for peace and justice for the 90% of the people in the world who just want to live a decent life. Thank you very much.
What are you doing at St. John's now?
I was invited to spend 5 days this week to make presentations to a selection of classes that are studying topics related to the work and experiences I've had. Tonight I'm giving a keynote address to an open audience to kind of summarize all that I've learned over these years working in all these countries. And then I'm counseling young students who want to get into the international field and so on. So the McCarthy Center has invited me as a guest for the week to do that. And it's a great privilege for me. When I went there 50 years ago, I never thought I'd be coming back as someone who has something to offer the students. I was in awe of the place when I started, so it's been great fun.
John, the other day we were talking about the kind of the historical time it takes for things to happen. You were kind of relating what's happening today with Texas. You want to go over that for just a minute?
Well, through my work, we've gotten involved in trying to stabilize various countries after the convulsions, Serbia, Kosovo, and now Palestine, the long thing, Afghanistan, Iraq, and so on. And those of us doing this work, we often get impatient and we say, oh my God, we've been here already 6 years and we still don't have this country settled down and so on. And I chose to remind them that in 1835 or so, there was a place called Texas that revolted against Mexico and went independent. And then for the next 8 years, 10 years or so, they were in convulsions because they were fighting. Mexico was fighting them, and they begged the United States to please take their country and put it in the United States and protect them. So in 1842 or so, we voted them into the United States. And then for the next 10 years, we still had constant insertions from the Mexicans, and we went after the Mexicans in Mexico, and they stole our cattle, and the Texans went after their cattle, and so on. So for 10 years or so, it was a little dicey there. Then we moved towards the Civil War, and the Texans joined the South and rebelled against the United States, and they got into that dust-up for 4 years, and then finally we got them to settle down a little bit there, and we sent the 7th Cavalry to Texas to try to bring the Indians under control so that the ranches could expand and Texas could develop. So our 7th Infantry ran around Texas for several years trying to settle the Indian tribes down. And once that happened, then we started having range wars between the farmers and the small ranchers, and then the medium ranchers and the big ranchers. And the Eastern Coast banks bought up millions of acres of land and created big ranches and started to put barbed wire fence around them so that they could control the breeding of their cattle. And when they put the barbed wire fence, they controlled the water sources. And in Texas, the tradition was nobody can own the water sources. It's available for everybody who has cattle. So we had range wars for a number of years. We had to help them create the Texas Rangers to calm all of that down. So right around 1900, Texas sort of settled down. It took about 60 years to stabilize Texas. And there are people who say to me to this day, it's still dicey whether we can Texas. So it takes a long time for a society and the community to settle down and build a future and build it solid and so on. And I remind our people we're still in South Korea, we're still in Germany, we're still in Japan. It takes a long time to stabilize and create a world order that everyone can depend on and so on. So, but Texas has been a particular thorn under the saddle.
If not in the United States, where would you choose to make your home?
Well, there's two answers to that. One is where my wife would choose. And not that that matters, of course. You know. My wife is from Puerto Rico. So if she had her choice, we would settle there in a heartbeat. And that comes particularly true in the winter. But if there was a place around the world that I could live, I will say this and you'll wonder, but I think it would be Lebanon. And the reason is, despite all of its troubles Lebanon has, I'm a history major. St. John's taught me. And I love ancient history and how the world functions and works and so on. And Lebanon for 5,000 years has been one of the centers of all the trade and development in the ships and the Mediterranean and so on. So it's full of history. It's full of very fascinating people. I have dear friends in the Maronite Christian movement. I have dear friends in the Sunni movements. I've dealt with Hezbollah officials. And I don't agree with what they are for, but they're very interesting and important persons who are going to make a difference in our lives as well, how the Hezbollah develops. I love the Middle East. I love the history of the ancientness of the cultures. And, you know, here, anything built before 1900 we put on the National Historic Register. You know. You go to Beirut, you live in a house that was built in 1400, and it's for rent. You know, it's like anybody else's house. You know, and you go and sit in the park, and you're sitting under pillars that were built by the Romans, 2,000 years ago. And from there, from Beirut, I could go to Jerusalem and Jordan and all the holy places and so on, which I've been to numerous times. It breaks my heart, the difficulties between the Israelis and the Palestinians. It just breaks your heart, and I don't know any solution. I don't know any solution because both people claim the land, and the truth is they both have a claim to it. And they can't solve it. So that would be my choice. But my wife, I can assure you, would not go to Beirut. Any other?
I have one last one for you then, John.
Yeah.
I know you sit on the floor with a lot of the people. How do you get down there and back up? I get sort of annoyed.
Well, one of the reasons I'm retiring is I decided, if I don't carry my own forklift around, it gets harder and harder to get up. But it's amazing how much of the world actually sits on the floor all the time. It doesn't have furniture. But people have been great. And there's nothing like sharing food and time to talk and visit and so on. My last story I'll tell you was in Yemen about 4 years ago. I was invited by a family to come to the house for dinner. The father was a history professor, and he wanted to talk to me about current events and so on. And he said, "I'll send my daughters to pick you up." And so he sent his daughters, one about 30 and the other, I think, about 17. They drove up to the hotel, picked me up, and they were dressed completely in dark burqas. Face covered, everything. And I jumped in the car, and we drove to their house. We got to the house, and as soon as we got in the door, they threw these things off, and they were in sweatshirts and jeans and tennis shoes and so on. And in the house, we had this wonderful time. We talked. I had a long conversation with the father, and then we all sat on the floor on H, and I worked my way back up off the floor after a heavy meal. And they got ready to take me back to the hotel, and the father said, "Well, the girls will take you back." And they went in the back room, came back out with their thing over them, and away we went. And so in the car, I said, "What is, explain to me, this thing." And they said, well, you know, for us, it's really like a raincoat. If we go out without it, we can go out without it. There's nothing illegal or anything. We'll just get a lot of harassment. Some of it more severe than others, and a lot of the young boys will whistle and talk and so on. And if we put the raincoat on, we're safe. So we wear it outside, and at home we love our sweatshirts and blue jeans and American movies and all of that. So this was in the heart of Yemen, where, you know, we think of as one of the most backward countries in the world. You go to the University of Sana'a, and you'll see all these groups of girls going around and they're going to the engineering school, medical school, and they're all in these black burqas, and they look like a group of blackbirds moving around, you know. So. But when I went to the Ministry of Education and met with them, and there were several women in the meeting, young women with these burqas on, with a veil across their face, they were not shy. They were not. All I could see was their eyes, but boy, we had conversations and they challenged my thinking on what needs to be done. They're tough, smart women too. So just because they wear the burqa doesn't mean they're you know, shy or incompetent and so on. It's an amazing world out there, amazing world. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Isn't that fun to hear? Isn't that something to hear on a St. Cloud Tuesday afternoon? John, thank you very much. I would appreciate your time to come on in for us today, and you're all welcome to come out tonight to hear the talk at St. John's and go forward. So, let's take a look here. Next week's meeting is going to be Pack the Ambulance. After Jurgen gets everything that's supposed to be in there chosen, there's going to be room. If you bring it the week after, it's too late. So bring it next week, bring it right here, and we're going to carry it right down. You are going to help carry it right across the street probably, and we are going to put it right in the ambulance. And then the ambulance, thanks to Raleigh Anderson Trucking Service, is going to take it down to Florida and take it, and I guess they're going to swim it across or something, and the ambulance will be there by the time we arrive. So that's next week. 2 weeks from now, David Turch will be in town speaking. David is a lobbyist, and also a Johnny, also a fellow I meet in Washington, D.C. often. David has been very instrumental in many of the projects around this town that you've never heard of him. He is from this town. He's from Sauk Rapids, actually. And he has made infrastructure changes in this town, in Los Angeles, Napa Valley, in Brainerd. He has brought in and brought back millions of dollars worth of money to help improve the infrastructure of many, many towns and villages. Great speaker, great fun also to listen to, I think. And on April 10th, His Honor himself, David Kleiss, member of the club and mayor, will be giving the State of the City address. So those are the next 3 programs. Look at what you have in your billfold. If you want to contribute it, give it to John Bestian to put it to the foundation for buying it, but we have to do it now or bring something next week. Anything else? Otherwise, for the good of the club, we stand adjourned. Thank you.